Hi everybody, it's RPG Grandma again, and which way do I look? I don't know. We're just gonna look this way. So this is continuing with Eldritch Wizardry, which is the psionics, the original psionics rules. A few things before we move on to advanced D&D's, 1E's version of psionics. One of the differences, or one of the interesting things that they did was basically you have unique abilities for telepathic abilities that you can gain based on whether you are a cleric, a magic user, or a fighter, or one of the subclasses thereof. In the game. So that means that the powers don't all become the same for the game. So there's a flavor to being a psychic, a psionic magic user. There's a specific flavor or aesthetic or theme if you're a cleric or a fighter. So it makes the powers a bit different. There's some crossover, absolutely, but then there's some things that don't. And that's a unique and interesting thing. Now, another thing, and it surprised me, because when I started looking at psionics, because I was originally trying to figure out how to put them into 5e. I want to do a 5e Dark Sun. That's what I wanted to do, but or wasn't Dark Sun, but in some ways it was going to be like Dark Sun. Totally different kind of environment, but the same concept where psionics were powerful. They existed throughout the setting, and so when I looked into doing that, looked what has been produced now as the official. And what was being produced, experimented with, I ran into some interesting complaints about psionics that aren't the normal ones. Oh, they overpower everything. And I'm like, but then you put in monsters and effects that counter those psionics. Just like there's things that counter magic, regular magic. You have magically resistant monsters. Well, you have psionically resistant monsters. It's kind of how you deal with it if you got a powerful psionic player. You give psionic abilities to others in the setting. So it balances out. It's kind of like you can't have modern weapons. Why? The wizard is shooting lightning out of his fingertips. Or the cleric's calling it down. Exactly how is the concept of laser, going to unbalance the game when you have the magical version of that happening, basically? Or a mutant who has laser eyes. How is that really going to imbalance the game? You just got to make sure that the mechanic is in proportion to what you already have existing. And it won't unbalance the game, but it will create a different flavor. And in some cases, somebody could have a laser and think it's a wand. Seriously. Cylinder weapons that look like long rods. Sounds like a magic wand to me. But you've all seen like the Star Trek one where, Landru, the original Purge, before they came out with the Purge movie, and they have that crazy knight, but then they have those monk-like guys who are tied into the rope, the computer, and then they got these big hollow tube staffs. There's nothing in them. If they point at somebody, they can kill that person. That kind of super technology / however it's working. But super technology is indistinguishable from magic in Star Trek. So Star Trek, I use Star Trek a lot. Those who haven't figured out I'm a Trekkie. I'll have to use some Doctor Who stuff pretty soon. Switch up my examples, some westerns or something. If you were a medieval person and somebody shot your friends dead with a big hollow tube and walking around in robes, you'd think they're wizards, not some dudes with super technology listening to a computer. So it's the game balance. You read through it, and then you, as the referee, the umpire, the DM, you need to then think about what is like this already in the game, and how do I already deal with that, and put in the equivalent, if it's even necessary. If it's not necessary, then you don't have to worry about it. If there's already stuff in place that will just naturally balance it out. So that's usually the main complaint. You're gonna, or you're gonna get a total party kill. There's lots of ways to get total party kills. Psionics is just one in a D&D game. What surprised me in reading forums was it's boring. And I'm like, we just sit there and these two people have this battle and we don't know what's going on, and it's boring. So I'm trying to imagine what's going on at this table. Because, a lot of these forums are old and people are long gone, and it's not like they're going to come back and comment in some are archived. But, I went through and I was doing some research and at the time, and they talked about other solutions, and it seemed to be what was going on at the table that was making it boring. But then I thought about, you can have a mind-numbingly boring regular combat. It has nothing to do with psionics. It's taking forever to kill that monster, and it's turned into just an endurance sport. Is everybody going to end up dead? Why can't we kill this thing? How many hit points does it have? Oh my! So it is like, the combat is taking so long mechanically. It might not be taking that long in game time, fantasy land time, but in actual physical time to resolve the combat, it's taking a long time. And if you have players who can't participate for whatever reason, well, yeah, they're bored. They're bored. So that can happen. That can happen with the magical combat. The way that you help them not be bored, especially if the party's split or something, is it's got to be entertaining. And this gets us into role-playing, and I said we were going to talk a little bit about role-playing, so this is where I was going. So you have to be descriptive. As the referee, you are going to set the tone. So, if I just read something off and make it as bland and as boring as possible with no energy, no enthusiasm, and I'm not saying you have to do funny voices. You just have to put the right kind of energy into the description. It makes all the world's difference with players. The players will pick up on that. somebody who's playing will pick up on that. They will encourage their friends, even if, they're a split party. They're not supposed to, but obviously they know what's going on. They're at the table, but they're not supposed to when their characters re-enter. They know what's going on, but they'll be like, yeah, So that's part of it. So when you're describing psionics, the mind blast, you need to just say something more than mind blast. You need to think about, those cheesy Saturday cartoons, those bad 1970s TV shows where people had psionics. I think there was one with a guy from Mayan temple or whatever, alien dude. You've got to think of this kind of over the top, those bad films with the bad special effects. And if it will help to make the psionics somehow visible, just do it. If it will help to what makes force lightning interesting? When it's the lightning. What makes you just don't say, oh, the rock lifted off the ground. No, the pebbles start moving, they're vibrating, and slowly it starts to raise. Think of those scenes with Luke, and he's learning to make rocks levitate, or trying to, and Yoda's trying to teach him stuff. Think about the visual effects they used to demonstrate a power. And you need to verbally say those things, describe them. Then the players pick up on it, and then they will start trying to describe better what they are doing and what they're visualizing when they're, sending out the wave of the mind blast or the ego whip, what that might be, this mental whip, what they see. So describe what the monster is doing. Do that. And the monster focuses on Bob, just dummy Bob, and he begins to send out rings of energies building up around him, and it's building power, and he can see that, and then he lets it go at you, Bob, and it's flying at you, this huge, massive wave of energy, and it's hitting you. Roll to say. Put colors in. Do whatever. Make it a spiral. It's a spiral, when it hits you, you see all this blast of color and pain in your head, roll to say. Do something so that people aren't bored. I understand that when the simultaneous combat, maybe people want to do the card thing or whatever, but player versus player, because that's the way it was. Seriously, I had 2 characters killed. One by another player once, and then one by a DM who wanted my character stuff for his PC in another campaign. Yeah, I stopped playing with him. That was kind of not cool. I wasn't there. It wasn't even a play group I played with. Not cool, dude. Not that I mind that particular character dying, but he should have talked to me first. And we could have killed the character off in our campaign, because I was like, about the character. But I was then angry when it was all done behind my back. So, not okay. Don't do that. DM tip, don't do that. But you got to make it interesting, because I read a lot of people were just bored out of their brains when there were psionics in the game, which seems so weird to me, because you're basically talking about Jedi powers, right? Or cool Spock, but you got to build some tension. You got to make it interesting. You got to put some kind of visualization that everybody can like get into it. Even if it's like, you begin to see energy like radiate off the person, and then they start getting smaller or bigger. I mean, just go Saturday cartoon with it. Whatever you got to do. But that's my advice. You got to role play that, because if you read a book, or if you were looking at a comic strip, or seeing it on TV or in a movie, they do add some kind of effect. Even if it's, I'm going to get some of that gets music, that every time a certain power is used, we have a sound effect. Because we have the technology now. I'm on my to-do list. Cue that specific piece of music or sound effect whenever somebody does certain things. We have the ability, and that's something I would like to set up. So I think it would be cool. So those are my thoughts on role playing, because we already really did the mechanics. You watch the previous videos, you know how to fight a psionic. You know what the rules are. And if you get a copy of this, you'll have all the little powers that are in here. But once you start adding psionics in, you need to add not just the character having psionics, but other beings having psionics. And remember, once you start using psionics, it attracts psionic NPCs and monsters, beings, creatures. They know something's going on. And you could also argue you could have psionic weapons, psionic artifacts that are intelligent, but then know something's going on too. You could make some cool weapons against psionics. You could have like a sword that's all it wants to do is kill psionic. Like you got the sword that says "feed me" for blood, right? Well, you could have the sword that or weapon or whatever that it is completely wants to kill anybody who has psionic abilities, and that's how it becomes more and more powerful. I mean, that is something you could put in a game. So just some thoughts. You can have artifacts that create psionic defenses. So just don't do things like allow you to be telepathic. They could allow you to do other things. Create dimensional doors, things like that. So I'm just putting that out there. I hope everybody's having a great day. Turns out today I have a little more time, so I got this video made for y'all. I ran out of time over the weekend, so it will be posted this week, whatever day I do it on. But everybody, keep on having a good time. Keep on spreading the love of tabletop role-playing games. Try things outside the norm, outside of your box. The worst that happens if you put psionics in a game and you hate it is you take it out. Seriously. Run your experiments. Try doing things different ways. This is just another kind of magic when you think about it. Just another weird power. Keep on rolling your dice. Keep on rocking your role playing. Hang loose. Peace.